Up next on race day, Ricky will race from up front today. Will he be there after 500 miles are spun off at Charlotte? In the Busch Grand National Series, Mark Martin makes it look easy while the title contenders stumble. And the biggest week of the year for dirt track racing wraps up in New York State today. The Wheels 300 for the Dirt Modifieds will have a live preview. It's race day, Sunday, October the 8th, 1995. Good morning. Welcome to the Charlotte Motor Speedway Live. I'm Rick Benjamin. Great to have you with us on race day today. Of course, we're here for today's 500-mile Winston Cup event that starts at 1 o'clock this afternoon. But we've got some great racing from all around the country today, including going up to Syracuse live, the Dirt Modifieds, their biggest run of the year. Also, we'll recap yesterday's World of Outlaws event on the mile. It was a great one. We've got some dandy action for you coming up in the next 30 minutes. But we started off today right here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. After fans and competitors alike waited out Hurricane Opal Wednesday and Thursday, Friday brought out the sun. Qualifying finally got underway, and it was a day for Ricky Rudd to remember. He wasn't the quickest car in practice, but Rudd had the speed when it counted. He claimed his second pole of the season. The warm conditions meant speeds were down. Rudd clicked off a lap at 180 miles an hour, 5 miles an hour off the track record. Biggest surprise of the weekend, Dale Earnhardt. He tried twice to qualify. He was 4 miles an hour off the pace, had to take the champion's provisional to make the show today. He'll start in scratch position, 43rd. Now, let's show you the top 10 for today's event. Rookie Ricky Craven always qualifies well here. He'll start on the outside of the front row today alongside Rudd. Michael Waltrip may be the other surprise, out of that ride very soon, but he'll share the second row with point leader Jeff Gordon here today. In the garage area for us, race day Steve Burns is with us today. Steve has more on both the front and the back of today's field.
Hey, Rick, Ricky Rudd told me after qualifying on Friday that the pole was a complete surprise. Now, he and his team tested here 2 weeks ago, but they were concentrating on their race setup, so the pole was a big surprise, and Ricky's looking for his first win in 1995.
We're getting late in the season. We haven't been able to win yet. We've been real close. We've had a couple opportunities that sort of just slipped away from us right there in the late stages. So there'd be nothing greater to come over here and win this Charlotte race. It's a big one. It's hometown for everybody. So we're trying awful hard today. We're going to see what happens.
So Ricky Rudd trying to keep that streak alive. He'll start first. The guy starting last, amazingly, Dale Earnhardt.
It's going
folks,
straight.
Watching this guy come through traffic is one of the most exciting things in all of sports. What do you think, Dale?
Well, I got the field covered. I got them right where I can see them all. And
good strategy.
Well, we started 38th there last year and finished third. I don't like starting back there, but we had a bad qualifying run and didn't do any better on the next day. So we'll start back there. It's the first time I've ever had to take a provisional, and that's a little bit tough. But that's the toughest part of it, really, is we didn't qualify for the race. So we'll start back there and see what we can do.
Well, best of luck. Let's go back to Rick Benjamin.
All right, thanks, Steve. We'll check back in with Steve in the garage area in a few minutes. A lot of movements being confirmed this week for drivers and key crew people, and we'll check all that out for you here shortly on race day. Now, yesterday, live on TNN, you saw the NASCAR Craftsman Super Truck Series in action, their second road course run of the year out at Sears Point, California. Wild one, and race day's Matt Yoakum has the highlights of that truck road race.
The Super Truck stars are still feeling their way when it comes to the road courses. Ron Hornaday won the only previous road race at Topeka, so he was a pre-race favorite. And owner Kurt Rohr brought in a ringer, Wally Dallenbach Jr. to pilot the 18 truck, so he got lots of pre-race attention. Those two did not disappoint. They raced hammer and tong over the Sears Point Hills and Dales, swapping the lead twice during the 100-mile event. Behind them, title hopeful Joe Ruttman was not enjoying his road racing adventure. He spun off the track twice and was black flagged for jumping a restart. The day's scariest moment came when Ray Daniels nearly went into the TV crew's parking lot. Once Mike Joy and Glenn Jarrett were sure their rides to the airport were okay, racing resumed. Late in the race, Dallenbach developed a high-speed misfire in his Chevy. That gave Hornaday all the edge he needed as he dashed to his sixth Super Truck win by 4 seconds. Dallenbach held on for second, while point leader Skinner padded his advantage with a third-place finish. The Craftsman Series standings find Skinner with a 63-point edge over Ruttman, who finished a disappointing 12th. Race winner Hornaday is a distant third. Reporting for Race Day, I'm Matt Yoakum.
All right, thanks, Matt. 2 races to go in the season for the first year of the NASCAR Craftsman Super Truck Series. You'll see both those events live here on TNN next weekend at Bakersfield, California. That's Sunday. Then the season finale at the end of the month on Saturday, October the 28th, and that will be from Phoenix International Raceway. The racing week got off to a tragic start here Friday at Charlotte. The Speedway Sportsman Division on the track again this season. The second time in 3 years there was a fatal accident. 26-year-old Russell Phillips died from massive head injuries, a huge turn 4 crash early in the event. Phillips was making his 7th 17th start in the sportsman cars. He lived in the Mint Hills suburb here in Charlotte, North Carolina. He was a volunteer fireman and a youth counselor. Russell Phillips is survived by his wife, Jennifer. Our condolences and prayers go out to her and the entire Phillips family and all of Russell's many friends. Russell Phillips was 26 years old.
Race Day is brought to you by Mopar, Chrysler Corporation Parts, and the Chrysler Plymouth, Dodge, Dodge Truck, Jeep, and Eagle dealers who sell and install them. By Jiffy Lube. If it doesn't say Jiffy Lube, it just isn't Jiffy Lube. By Speed Stick by Menon. Like you, it never quits. By Subaru. Test drive an all-weather, all-road, all-wheel drive Subaru today.
Back live at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Great to have you with us for Race Day. Time for our Mopar Performance Update, which focuses on yesterday's Busch Grand National Series event, the All-Pro Bumper-to-Bumper 300-miler here at the Speedway, and ended a 3-week no-racing break for the Busch Series regulars. Coming in, Johnny Benson brought a huge point lead over Chad Little into the event. Benson hoping that a good finish would all but eliminate his chief rival for the title. It didn't quite work out that way. Little faced a true do-or-die situation when they dropped the green Saturday, but less than 20 laps in, his hopes suffered a near-fatal blow. Little tangled with Greg Sachs.
Just got together with that 33 car as we were racing, in the early parts of the race. Disappointing, too, It almost was a big pile up a lap before that with him and another guy going 3 wide and down there in 1 and 2. And I backed out there and was thinking, God, let me get up through these cars a little bit here so we'll get strung out a ways, and just never had a chance.
So Chad Little's crew got busy trying to make repairs. Meantime, Johnny Benson Jr., the series point leader, was rolling along comfortably into the top 10. But his hopes of putting a hammerlock on this year's championship went away in turn 1. He went inside of Jimmy Spencer.
It was just some good hard racing, and I was loose down on the bottom, and I just got some wind taken off me. There's nothing I could really do. I knew I was loose. I was really actually tiptoeing there for a while, and I lost it.
Ill fortune for Benson and Little provided the subplot as Mark Martin and Dale Jarrett were the stars on the main stage. Jarrett chased Martin all afternoon long. Jarrett had won at Milwaukee earlier. He got a glimmer of hope late in the going when Martin had to stop for fuel during the race's final caution period with 68 laps remaining. On the restart, Martin blew by rookie contender Jeff Fuller to take second, and then went off in pursuit of Jarrett. And it took him only 5 laps. Martin diving under Jarrett's number 32 car, going back into the lead. Martin and his Winn-Dixie Ford never headed. Martin led 167 of the 200 laps Saturday, his 3rd Busch Grand National win of the season. Jeff Purvis had his best run of the year. The rookie Fuller faded in the late going, but still came home in the top 5. Benson and Little did get back on the racetrack, but they limped home, finishing 26th and 34th, respectively. Our Speed Stick Fast Track Points Update brought to you by Menon. Benson still has a comfortable lead, almost 250 markers, with 2 races to go at Rockingham and Miami. And, of course, you'll see the Busch Grand National event from Rockingham live here on TNN. That'll be next Saturday afternoon, October the 21st. Hope you can join us for the show. Also on the slate today, one of my favorite events, the richest race of the year for the dirt track modifieds up in the Northeast. The green flag will fall at the Syracuse New York State Fairgrounds at 3 this afternoon for the Wheels 300. Standing by, 2 o'clock, I'm told, rather than 3. Doug Logan is standing by live in Syracuse for us today. And, Doug, the weather's always a question mark during this week of speed. What's the situation there today?
Well, we have, Rick, cloudy skies, very windy, very cool, but really good conditions for racing. And by green flag time, we should have bright sunshine, so we're looking forward to it. Yesterday, we enjoyed a day with clear skies, and we had plenty of racing excitement for the fans on hand. Saturday's racing action kicked off with the World of Outlaws in their traditional 4-abreast pace lap that brought the fans to their feet. Now, just prior to the mandatory halfway fuel stop of the champion Spark Plug Nationals, Steve Kinzer in the number 11 Quaker State Sprinter gets by pole sitter Jeff Swindell coming out of turn 2. A battle on the last lap saw Dave Blaney try to get by Kinzer into turn 3, but a lap car would halt Blaney and his racer gets sideways. Kinzer speeds off to win at the Moody Mile and take home a whopping $25,000 payday. Joe Plozek provided a wild start at the Wheels Gabriel 200, this ending Plozek's day just a handful of laps into the race. Near the midway point, Jimmy Hauser will get by the number 6 car of Pat O'Brien going into turn 3 and take the lead. Hauser goes unchallenged the remainder of the way and picks up what is by far the biggest win of his career. I'm being joined now by the man who's trying to become the first ever 5-time winner here at Syracuse, Brett Hearn. And Brett, you're on the pole for today's race. Your 3rd time on the pole. Last time was 91, and you won this great event. Tell us a little about your race strategy today.
Well, first of all, I'm real happy to be in the front because there's nothing like open air here at Syracuse. And it's been a great effort by the Auto Palace team. We really came here with a race setup, a Chevrolet engine, a little bit smaller, and a little bit more versatile as far as gas mileage is concerned. So for us to be on the pole is really an added bonus for us.
You have defending champion Jimmy Horton alongside you in row 1, and Bob McCready, the hottest man on dirt the last 2 years, just 2 rows behind. What will it take to be victorious today?
Well, I think we've got to sequence our pit stops. I hope that we will sequence them together and try not to get shuffled to the back too much. Try to stay near the front. Our last pit stop will be our most important one.
Trying to make history today in Syracuse, Brett Hearn for the Wheels 300. Back to you, Rick.
All right, thanks, Doug. We wish Brett and the entire field well. We'll have highlights of the Wheels 300 tonight on the PM edition of Race Day, 7:30 Eastern, right here on TNN. When we come back, we've got a lot more to show you here this morning, though. Up north, the latest from the NASCAR Featherlight Modified Tour, their season getting close to an end, and the finale of the American-Canadian Tour season. We've got highlights from both of those. Also, plenty of movement this week among the Winston Cup gentry here at Charlotte. We'll head back to the garage area next. Welcome back live to Race Day here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. You know, the fall racing weekend here always means a lot of deals are confirmed and announced for drivers, for car owners, and for key crew people as well. This week, Johnny Benson confirming what we told you a few weeks ago, first on Race Day, that he will take over the Bahari Pontiac, the number 30 Pennzoil car, starting next season. Cale Yarborough has confirmed he's re-signed with Jeremy Mayfield as his driver. Most importantly, RCA will continue as the sponsor for Cale Yarborough Motorsports, and the 98 team will stay intact for next year. And one of the key crew chiefs in this series, Billy Engel, announced a few weeks ago he's leaving Ricky Rudd's RPM team at the end of the year. Where's he going to go? Let's find out live. Steve Burns in the garage area for us. Steve?
Bill Engel helped put the car on the pole for Ricky Rudd. Bill, your plans for 96?
My plans for 96 are I'm joining Gary Bechtel and Steve Grissom with Diamond Ridge Motorsports to be manager of racing operations for all of his racing operations. And in turn for that, he's going to give me an opportunity to drive a Busch car on a limited schedule and a super truck also.
Good luck. Let's go back to Rick.
All right, thanks, Steve. Now, the other big story of the week that's broken here concerning crew members, Rusty Wallace's team, several members, including Billy Woodruff, have been hired away by Felix Sabates. They're going to go to work on the 42 car. Rusty says he's surprised by that.
They've got some wonderful offers to get an enormous amount of money from Felix Sabates. And Felix is a good friend of mine. He's got himself in a lot of trouble right now because the car won't run. And he's just shopping around for some people, and he's offered a lot of crew chiefs, a lot of deals, and a lot of them have turned it down. He's went to Billy to offer to Billy, and Billy's took it. So I wish Billy all the luck in the world.
Let's get the other side of this story. Steve Burns standing by with car owner Felix Sabates.
Felix, Rusty was a little bit upset that the guys left. What's your position on that?
Well, basically, they came to me, asked me for a job. I called Roger Penske, and I told him that I had some of his people have wanted to come to work for us, and Roger was a real gentleman about it. He said, look, if they want to go to work for you, there's nothing I can do about it. Good luck. So that was basically it.
Well, folks, that's it. Racing is a business. That's the bottom line. Thanks, Felix.
Thank you.
A lot of team shuffling, certainly, as we look ahead toward 1996. And most of the drivers are staying put. There have been only a few key changes, but some of the crew people certainly will make a difference in the way those cars run. Up north, the Featherlight Modified Tour of NASCAR enjoying the crisp fall air and crisp racing at Stafford Springs in the CarQuest Fall Final. This event always a fan favorite, and it's a favorite of Mike Stefanik's because now he's won it 3 times. This year, Stefanik started 6th in the fall final, and he cruised early, conserving his tires. That strategy would pay a lot of dividends later. Reggie Ruggiero paced the field for the first third of the event. Then Sedge Worley tagged the wall, and everyone had to show their hands, the leaders pitting for fresh rubber, while Stefanik, who'd saved his tires, gambled on getting another caution. And just past halfway, Stefanik got the break he needed. Tommy Creveno crashed up in turn 2. Under the caution, Stefanik took on fresh tires of his own. Just 10 laps to go now. Stefanik back at the front, chasing the leader, Steve Park. He drops the Beal and Bacon Chevy low, sweeps into the lead, and Stefanik led the rest of the way to the checkered flag. 4th win of the season for Mike Stefanik, 31st of his modified tour career. That ties him with Jeff Fuller for 2nd on the all-time modified win list. Steve Park finishes 2nd or better for the 4th race in a row, while the point leader, Tony Hirschman, finishes 8th. Hirschman still gained ground on his title rival, Mike Iwanitzko, who finished only 16th. Park, meanwhile, takes over 3rd in the standings after Rick Fuller could finish no better than 20. 2 races to go for the Modified Tour. They run at Thompson next week, and then again October 29th, part of the annual World Series of Speed at the Thompson International Speedway in Connecticut. We'll keep you posted on the Modifieds, of course, here on Race Day. Now, staying up north, the ACT Tour stock cars wrapped up their year last week. The Fall Foliage 300 at Airborne Speedway in New York. The good news for point leader Brad Layton, who had won the 3 previous races at the New York Half Mile, he was out to make it 4. Layton virtually had a lock on the championship. He only needed to finish 32nd or better to claim the season title. His 55 car worked from 17th into the top spot by lap 151. Leader Racing Ralph Nason had to pit for fresh tires. No time at all, Nason was back, rocketing up through the field and battled side by side with Layton. That all ended, though. Nason drifted high, KOing his Dodge and his chances of victory. When the green came back out, Dave Whitlock took command from Layton, who had a right rear going flat. And the first of the 2 big breaks for Layton, a caution allowing him to hit pit road to get fresh tires. After Layton marched through the field into second, the 20th and final caution of the day put Layton right on Dave Whitlock's bumper for a 3-lap dash to the cash. The fresher tires allowed the 55 to grab the lead off the restart. Layton ran to the checkers, his 7th win of the season. Layton cruises to his first American-Canadian Tour Championship, while Demers grabs second, 11 points ahead of Mike Rowe, who finished 3rd in the final standings. Lots more to come here on Race Day. Highlights from one of the year's biggest dirt track extravaganzas, the Oktoberfest up at Hagerstown. And as we take you to break this morning, here's what's ahead for you television-wise, racing-wise this week ahead. It all wraps up with Race Day tonight at 7:30. Plan your viewing, and we'll be right back. You know, we're getting close to the end of the racing season for a lot of short track series across the country. One of those is the NASCAR Slim Jim All-Pro Series. They've just got a race or 2 to go. The first of the trio of remaining races actually was run last week at the historic half mile in Winchester, Indiana, and it was a big day for Mike Cope. The 94 Series champ is Mike Cope, no relation to Derek. He's the defending winner of this event, and the veteran proved why patience is a virtue on the high banks at Winchester. Cope in the Slim Jim 44 leads the first quarter of the 400-lap chase. After pit stops, it looks like Ron Young and Ron Barfield are going to be in control. Young leads for 30 laps until a blown motor ends his chances. That puts Barfield up on top of the leaderboard with Cope on the charge. Cope in the 44 chasing the 97 around and through traffic. Just ask local ace Ray Skillman in the 27 car. He gets shoved out of the way. Mike Cope would catch Barfield just past the 3/4 mark of the event. Once out front, he never looked back. Cope led the final 98 laps to claim the 3rd winning paycheck of his season. Series point leader Hal Goodson gets by Barfield to checker in 2nd. Brian Ross and Scott Walters finish 4th and 5th. Goodson 155 points out in front now, while the real battle is for 2nd in the All-Pro standings. Only 1 point separates Cope and Barfield. All-Pro cars in Nashville next week. You'll see their All-American 400 live at 1 o'clock Eastern next Sunday here on TNN. Certainly a great event. A number of the top dirt track stars in the sport busy at Hagerstown, Maryland last Sunday, the annual Fall Oktoberfest 300. 160 cars showed up, but all the eyes were on Billy Pouch, who buckled in 3 times, broken arm, cast, and all. Pouch's first of 3 events Sunday was the 50-lap sprint car main. He quickly ripped through the field in his sprinter. Pouch, reeling in the leader Dan Dietrich, took the lead briefly, but couldn't hold off the challenge of Dietrich, who drove on to the $10,000 payday. The small block modifieds were next up. Our man Pouch on the front row with Doug Hoffman. Pouch jumped out in front to lead the first 24 of the 50 laps. Then Hoffman caught a break. Kenny Brightville spun his 19 car. The yellow flag put Hoffman right where he wanted to be, right on Pouch's back bumper. The 5 car wasted little time on the restart to claim the lead. Hoffman ran untouched to the checkered flag. Pouch, meanwhile, had to work hard to keep Frank Cozy at bay to grab another 2nd spot. Pouch and Hoffman duel would carry over to the big block modifieds, the nightcap of the show. Hoffman set the pace in his 60 over car with Pouch on his way to the front. He passed Lou Blaney to take 2nd. Hoffman was next up on the hit list. Pouch executed the pass coming off of turn 4 and led the final 21 laps to the checkered flag. Jamie Mills beat Craig Von Doren for 2nd. Hoffman faded back to 4th spot. The only race Pouch didn't enter was the late model main. Maybe he should have tried. Davey Johnson decided this one was his from the start. He led flag to flag to take his 2nd Oktoberfest win. Tim Hitt made several challenges, but wound up 2nd. I think Billy the Kid Pouch wouldn't be great at a NASCAR Super Truck. $20,000 he banked last Sunday at Hagerstown, including $10,000 for his win in the big block modifieds. He'll no doubt be a threat up at Syracuse today as well. We're not done from Charlotte here. Charlotte Motor Speedway, our location for race day today. When we come back, we'll head back to the garage area one final time. Get some predictions on who might lead the field when the checker falls late this afternoon in the UAW GM 500. We're right back. Back live on Race Day. Before we leave, you want to give you some program notes. In the coming weeks, we're going to move our air times around a little bit because we have a lot of live motorsports to come your way on TNN before the season closes. Next week, Race Day airs 90 minutes earlier, 6 o'clock Eastern in the evening program. We'll wrap up a full day of racing here. You'll see the All-American 400 live from Nashville for the All-Pro cars, plus the next-to-last race in the Craftsman Super Truck Series from Bakersfield. Next Sunday, our AM edition at its usual time, 11:30. The PM edition, 6 o'clock next week, Eastern time. Then in 2 weeks on the 29th, our morning edition airs at noon Eastern time, kicking off a full day of live motorsports on TNN. That includes live Winston Cup racing from Phoenix and the NHRA World Drag Racing Finals from Pomona, California. And then our PM show, 8:30 Eastern on the 29th, immediately following the NHRA Finals. So mark your calendar. Those program changes are coming up next week, and then the last weekend of the month. Don't forget, next Sunday night, 6 o'clock Eastern, after a full day of live racing right here on TNN. And we'll have all the highlights for you, of course, on Race Day. Big event coming up here later on today, the UAW GM 500. It starts at 1 o'clock Eastern tonight. At 7:30 Eastern, you'll be certain to see all the highlights from this afternoon's event. Hope you can join us. There's a lot more. Of course, we'll have a full recap of the weekend's activities up at Syracuse, the World of Outlaws, and the Dirt Track Modifieds. Thanks for watching Race Day. We'll see you tonight at 7:30 Eastern.
Race Day is brought to you by Mopar, Chrysler Corporation Parts, and the Chrysler Plymouth, Dodge Truck, Jeep, and Eagle dealers who sell and install them.